you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and today we're going to be going over all of the books that I read in August, and then we'll go over my September TBR. I actually had a really good reading month this month, so I'm very excited to talk to you guys about my reading month and like everything that we read. I'm going to be referencing my laptop here and there, and also I have like a note on my phone of like all of the books that I wanted to read, so on and so forth. So I may be referencing things here and there, so just a heads up. But to give you a recap on what my August TBR was, I wanted to read Five Survive, Summer of Broken Rules, Extraordinary Life of Sam Helm, Part of Your World, Reappearance of Rachel Price, and Too Late. So those are the books, and we'll go over the ones that I read. The only ones that I have not read are Summer of Broken Rules and Part of Your World. I don't know why, but I feel like I'm just like not really in a romance mood right now, and those are actually the last two books that I also put on my summer TBR, so I'm hoping to get through those this month, but they have not been read. But let's go through the books that I did read. So I'll go in order of the date that I completed them. The first one was Five Survive by Holly Jackson. This is my very first Holly Jackson book, and I was pretty excited to read it because I had heard really good things about it. I kept hearing things about Holly Jackson here and there from like the internet, from like other friends. So I picked this one up because it was the first one that became available on my Libby app, and I really enjoyed it. I liked the character a lot. Initially, she's going through a lot because she is reflecting on her mom and how her mom has passed away. So there is that element of like the very broken character. If you guys don't already know what this book is about, basically a group of kids go off to what's supposed to be like a spring break, I believe. They decide to go in an RV, whereas the rest of the class is flying. And as they're on this adventure trying to head to the location, they get trapped in this spot, and basically becomes a book of survival. So that's really what the book is about. I thought it was a really good one. Again, it was my first Holly Jackson, so I wasn't really sure what to expect from it, but I really liked it, so I gave this one 4 stars. The next one was also another Holly. I just had a full, actually, I was gonna say I had a full Holly Jackson month, but in reality, like I truly did. I read her entire, like all of her books, all in the month of August. So we'll go through all of them, but the next book that I read was Reappearance of Rachel Price. I gave this one 4 stars as well. I liked this one a lot too. You guys have probably heard about this one a lot on the internet because it's her most recent book, but basically it's about a girl who is the daughter of somebody who has disappeared, and this woman has been gone for 16 years, and she's filming a true crime documentary with her family, and as they're going through the filming of the true crime documentary, her mom reappears. And so there's a lot of questions about like, where have you been? It's been 16 years. So daughter is like fully grown up at this point. Like, what's going on? Who did this to you? The whole thing. And the twists and turns in this one are, I think it really reminded me a lot of Five Survive, but the characters themselves were very different. So I do think that it was like different enough that it wasn't the same story over and over again. But honestly, like Holly Jackson just has a way of writing that makes you really care about the characters, and that is what is most important for me, at least, where I don't know, I just feel like if you really care about the characters, then all of the stories will be so different. So I really liked it a lot. The way that it ended was really fantastic as well. So yeah, overall, I thought it was really good. It wasn't something, kind of the same idea with Five Survive. It wasn't something that I was like staying up late to read. Like I didn't lose sleep over the book, but I really enjoyed it. So that's why I gave it 4 stars. The next book that I read last month was Too Late by Colleen Hoover, and I know that there has been a lot of talk online about Colleen Hoover and the way that she talks about things in her books. Like sometimes it's just not, I don't know, like I don't really know how to explain without going into like so much detail, but especially with It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us, and like that becoming a movie and the way that the PR happened, like it's just sort of come to light how Colleen Hoover talks about certain circumstances within her books. And I kind of felt like that was the situation with Too Late. I thought that it was interesting the way that this book was written, where she started posting online and her fans kind of talked to her about the direction that they would have preferred the book to go, and that's how she came up with this book. But I personally like was never sure if I was going to be able to finish it. I had to tell my book club, like, if I can't finish this, like, just a heads up, I just might not be able to. Basically, the book is about a girl who is living with this guy, her boyfriend, and her boyfriend is extremely abusive. He's also part of a drug trafficking like ring in a college. So there's a set of undercover cops who are trying to break into this ring, and one of the police officers is starting to have feelings for the girl. And obviously, like, there's a lot of abuse in this book. There's a lot of, I don't know, like, I feel like the explanations as to like why some of the characters were doing the things that they were doing just didn't really sit well with me personally. I can't in good faith recommend this book. If you are dying to read every single one of Colleen Hoover's books, just check the trigger warnings beforehand. But yeah, I just could not rate this one. Honestly, it was a little too much for me, and I don't know. I don't even know what else to say about it. I don't know if I really would have wanted to read that one. So I'm going to go a little bit out of order because I read the entire series of Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but I originally read it as Killjoy, which is the novella that's like a prequel to the rest of the series. And then I read another book and then the rest of the series, but I'm going to talk about that series as a whole. So I'm going to skip over to The Sixth Wedding, which was another novella that I read. This one is the sequel to 28 Summers, which I read last month, or I guess in July. And I really loved 28 Summers. The Sixth Wedding was like a really long epilogue and basically went through what is going on with each of the characters and just like their stories and their continuation, or like where they're landing, or kind of like a vision as to like, even though you only get 1 to 2 chapters for each person, you can kind of like see the direction that their life is going to go. And I thought that it was really cute and really like a good way to wrap it up. I think specifically in 28 Summers, there is the guy who is having the affair with the main character, and his like story, or like the way that his life is seeming to, like the direction that it's going in, is really cute. But I don't really know if this book was necessary. Like, I'm glad that it's a novella and not a book. Again, I do think that it wrapped everything up really well, but I don't feel like it was necessary. And I feel like sometimes authors go one step too far, where it's okay for us as readers to just like speculate as to like how the story ends, if that makes sense. I don't need an in-depth epilogue, explanation, whatever you want to call it, explaining the next steps. But if you wanted that, then I think it was good. I gave it 3 stars because it was still enjoyable. I really like Ellen Hilderbrand's writing, but I didn't feel like I was like dying for this book. So that's why I gave it 3 stars. Now, jumping in to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I read Killjoy first, which is again a prequel to the series, and it is a novella. It basically is, it's just like honestly really cute and wholesome in comparison to the rest of the series. The whole series is YA, so you never go too in depth on like romance scenes or any like of the murder scenes, which is crazy, but like it's a murder mystery book or series, and I think that like it goes just in depth enough but not too far, and that like perfect medium is there for these books. But Killjoy specifically was like really just cute and wholesome. It was basically a group of friends who were having a murder mystery dinner party for one of the friends' birthdays, and that was it. It was just the murder mystery. It's not like murder mystery gone wrong or anything like that. It's just a group of high school students, 6 or 7 of them, and they're just having dinner doing a murder mystery. So I thought it was really fun and like a very unique type of book. And then going into Good Girl's Guide of Murder, second one is Good Girl Bad Blood, and the third one is As Good as Dead. I feel like I gave a lot of my thoughts while I was reading them in one of my last videos. I'll put that, I don't know which side it goes up, but I'll put it here. I think I did a lot of like review on it, but I wanted to give a better review here because honestly, the whole series was 5 stars for me. The only one I didn't give 5 stars was Killjoy, the novella, because I gave it 4 stars, but it's because I didn't fully know the characters. Like, I don't know if I would have gotten more out of it or if I would have thought it was more fun if I knew who all of these people were, and maybe if I read it like second, but technically it is a prequel. So I read it first and I thought it was cute and I thought it was unique. So that's why I gave it 4 stars. But the series itself, 5-star series, I think it was the right length. I think that like the first one really introduces you to the character. The second one reiterates some of the information that you know about the character, but it's just different enough where, I don't know, it's like not the same story over and over again. And then the third one, the character goes off in like a completely different direction and it feels so human-like. The way that she is, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like, she's so affected by everything that she's experienced in the previous 2 novels that it shows, and she's not just like okay. All of the characters are like, there's potential for them to be like killed off, and nobody is really safe in these books, which I personally really enjoy. I don't really love when like everybody is safe and everything is okay, because it's not how real life works. So I thought that it was just so well done. All of the characters felt so real to me as well. And I think that was like a huge part of it, which I mentioned in Holly Jackson's other books too. Like she just does such a good job of making you feel like the characters are real. So I really loved this series as a whole. I wish I could read it all over again. I wish I could experience it all over again. I've convinced a bunch of my friends to start reading it. And this is truly a series that like I actually did stay up way too late reading these books. So I really, really, really loved these and definitely recommend them. And then the last one that I read is The Extraordinary Life of Sam Hell. And this one was another 5-star book. Oh, there's a spider on my ceiling. I was crying by the end of it, like not sobbing, but like I had some tears coming down, and I thought this one was so fantastic. It basically follows this boy who grows up in a Catholic household, and he is born with ocular albinism. I don't know how to say the word, but basically his eyes are red, and this is like a very rare condition, so he doesn't know anybody else with it. And also the fact that he has red eyes and he's going to a Catholic school, like he already is having a lot of trouble. But on top of it, then he goes to school eventually, like he's let in, and his mom really fights for him to be there. And he ends up meeting another student who is the only Black student in the entire school, and they form a friendship, and it basically takes you throughout the character's life. The beginning of the book starts with like going between adulthood and childhood, and then slowly that gap closes, and then at the end it just like takes you through the rest of his adulthood. And it was just so powerful. It was a lot of debating like how you feel about your religion, which personally I'm not a very religious person, but I think that like a lot of the concepts that they were talking about it was a very Catholic type concepts that they were talking about, but I think that you could easily relate them to things that you yourself have experienced, or like, you know, even if you're not religious, you can relate the ideas back to yourself. So I think it was really well written. I love Robert Dugoni's writing. He also has a mystery series, so I've read some of his other books, but this was very different from what what I have read from him in the past, and I just thought it was so well done, and just like a beautiful story. The way that it ended was beautiful, just the whole thing. I wish I could tell you guys more in depth how much I loved it, but I don't want to give any spoilers. This was one that like every few chapters I would just talk to Ryan about what I had been reading. And I think another thing going for this one is that the chapters are so short, like literally a page, 2 pages, 3 pages max. Some of them are like 4 or 5 pages, but like usually it's like up to 3 pages. And so it just goes really fast. You're on to the next moment. There's just enough detail, but it's not like bogging you down. And I think it was just like so well written, and I just loved the whole story. It was really, really good. So those are the books that I read. What I'm wanting to read for September. First and foremost, I think I kind of want to finish The Finish Line, which is part of the Ravenhood series. I read a couple of the books for like my very first book club. I want to say in like February or March, I think was our first month of book club. So I read the first 2 books around that time period, and I just never finished the series. I didn't really have like a huge interest in finishing the series, but I had already purchased the book. So I thought like, let's just round out the series. Let's just like finish it off. And I'm going to do the thing where I like read X amount of pages per day. That just like helps me personally. I feel like I've done that like once a month now, where I've been like assigning myself a book that I'm like not so sure that I'm gonna love. But I think that this is gonna be a really good way for me to finish off the series. I think there's technically one other book, but I'm probably not going to go down that route. We'll see. I mean, like maybe if things change, but I think this series is just a little too spicy for me, so we shall find out. But that's one of the books. The next one is The X by Frida McFadden. I added this one in because we're starting to get into spooky season, and I say that, but like literally it's still summer. But by the time like summer ends, September 22nd, I think. So by the time we're like towards the end of the month, we'll be into spooky season. And I just thought that like usually Frida McFadden books are like really easily digestible. They're easy to read, super fast paced. So I thought this would be like a good palate cleanser for me. And I've had it on my Kindle for a little while because it's available on Prime Reading. So I decided that that was going to be another one. I put Part of Your World and Summer of Broken Rules on my list as well, because these are ones that I've been meaning to get through, and I really want to read them before the end of the summer, when I'm like definitely not into like the summer romance books. I don't know why like seasons affect the way that I want to read, but right now I've really been into more like mystery type books, or like even like just general fiction, like Extraordinary Life of Sam Helm. So I put those on the list. Part of Your World is technically like a series, but it's like interconnected, so you don't have to read them in order, but I think you get more out of it if you do. So I put only Part of Your World on my list, but in the back of my mind, I would like to read all 3 of the books. And then the last one is The Heiress, and this one is my book club book of the month, but my friend chose. So that is the last one. There's a few others that I have on my list. I have like a series tracker on my phone as well, and so I've just like kind of periodically checked the series tracker just to see like what other books maybe I could read, and I have a few of them coming up available to me on the Libby app, so hopefully we'll get through some series as well, but that's more of like a slow process, so we'll get there eventually. But that's all I have for you guys today. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what book was your favorite that you read last month and what book you're most looking forward to this month. I always love to hear what you guys are reading. That's all I have. So thank you guys again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.